Our very next speaker is Terry McDonald. Terry oversees the largest St. Vincent de Paul Society in the country, an agency that generates revenue through reuse and recycling social enterprises that fund about 60% of its $42 million annual budget. The largest nonprofit social services agency in Lane County, Oregon, the St. Vincent de Paul Society of Lane County also provides multiple reuse and recycling services in California, including mattress recycling, book preservation and reuse, and materials management for several large retailers. In 2017, the agency diverted from Oregon and California landfills about 30 million tons of material. That is impressive. Most retail stores send worn and damaged materials to landfill. At St. Vincent de Paul of Lane County, they're able to use the broken stuff as the building blocks for new products. Scratched vinyl records, ripped leather sofas, tabletops with no legs, no problem. Terry will talk about how St. Vincent's upcycling team creates unique products that attract buyers looking for something that didn't come off an assembly line. The revenue supports a unique range of services to those struggling financially. Without further ado, please help me welcome Terry McDonald. The blue button is your change.
The blue button is saying, gosh, that guy sounds so smart, I want to meet him someday. Also, I'd like to, is Tom Padilla here? Not yet? Okay. I presume everybody knows. But you know, the deal on Tom, just for a minute, is that, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is he up there? Okay. About 20 years ago, Tom and I had a conversation about mattress recycling. And the trick on the mattress recycling was that it's not really happening right now. And as a result of his tenacity and as a result of my bullheadedness, we developed DR3 Mattress Recycling, and over a about 15-year period, we recycled in the Bay Area about 1 million mattresses. Since then, of course, we have the Mattress Stewardship Bill that has come forward, and now, as a representative of the MRC here, where are they? Okay, there you are, back there. Are we doing about 1 million a year now? More than 1 million mattresses a year coming out of landfills in California. But just from my point of view, Tom Padilla started it all. Okay, so building a global circular economy is kind of what we're up to. You know, we think of landfills as really as an asset, and God, there's great stuff in landfills. And we try and get the value of those things to small communities, large communities, because we know that rural areas often have trouble accessing good quality products, and we have a lot of stuff in urban areas. These kinds of things are what we recycle. And if you can see, it's everything from, you know, clothing and shoes and the usual things in a thrift store down to mattress dust. And we take the mattress dust that comes off of it, which has got little mites and things like that in it, and sell it to the healthcare industry as a test kit material, so they can test if you've got an allergy. So that goes out for about $110 a pound. Value-added products, rebuilt box springs and mattresses, Dogma dog beds, there's Fluffy on a dog bed, made out of the contents and the covers of used mattresses that are cleaned and then put back into use. Skateboard wax made out of old candles, eco-fire, eco-batting, all kinds of stuff that you can manufacture. And it all creates jobs and employment. It's all coming out of our waste streams. You know, that thing on the lower left-hand corner there, that's a Zen gazing ball fountain. That fountain is very pretty, it's lovely, sits out in the yard, splashes water around. It's really an upside-down bowling ball with a hole drilled through the middle of it. That's padding that's the sisal out of a mattress, and is used for erosion control around the yards that we have and around gardens. And of course, it biodegrades every year, but it is a good thing to use as a pathway to your garden and whatever else, keep your feet clean. We do a lot of materials management associated with this stuff, and so our employment base has been able to grow pretty rapidly as a result of that in both Oregon and California. A lot of the jobs, new jobs in California associated with mattress recycling and book and textile recycling down in California. We like to work with solid waste districts because we try and solve the problems for those districts. So if you've got a difficult material to handle, or if you've got something that you don't want, or if you want to have it pulled out of our waste, out of your waste stream, we will try and provide the logistics and the equipment and the supplies to get it to market. Manufacturers, of course, give us all kinds of stuff. Use strapping and everything turns into pet bed or pet leashes and things like that. Seconds returns from retailers. Mattresses that are reusable, donated to families. And we just struck a deal with a major retailer in the United States to recycle about 20 53-foot containers of new furniture that they didn't want per day. And so that's going to be an interesting new venture for us, everything from soft goods and textiles to furniture that comes out, which typically went to their landfill. There's one warehouse that we're servicing out of New Jersey right now that used to pay $400,000 a year to send their new furniture to the landfill. And that is now coming to us and generating jobs and employment. So it's a very good deal. We also, of course, have the opportunity to lobby and to look for new solutions. So the carpet pad, that we buy at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever else has a post-consumer mattress foam content coming out of mattresses. The LEED certified Insulcot that's going into LEED certified housing comes out of mattresses. So working with those ways to deconstruct and find ways to for new markets for this product is a really good way to go. And we've also developed a brand called the Cascade Alliance. And the Cascade Alliance is a group of nonprofits around the United States that are creating jobs and employment out of the waste stream. And we're finding a way to link those nonprofits with us and with each other to create new jobs and employment everywhere in the United States. So we're working basically now in 20 states around the United States, creating ways to divert more waste goods from the waste stream and create jobs and employment with that. So that's what we did last year. Mattresses deconstructed, 353,000. Thank you, Mike. And scrap metal and so forth down the line. We also try and come up with some upcycle products. So we have hired a fashion designer, Mitra Chester. Well, she's getting married, doggone her. And she does a lot of our upcycled products. So she takes the vinyl records and creates jewelry out of them. Old belts turn into wrist cuffs. Plaid hoodies comes out of torn things and whatever else. And it has created an opportunity for us to have a store that is dedicated only to that upcycled product. And its retail sales have been going up by day that much. And this year, it's a daily average of income off of that stuff that normally would have been thrown away is over $1,500 a day. It's also allowed us to work with Pottery Barn to develop an interesting partnership. So they are giving us a lot of their soft goods now that would have gone to the landfill and asking us to redesign that product and sell it back to them and put them into their Pottery Barn stores, which will then create jobs and employment for basically home sewers nationwide. It's an interesting possibility, an interesting thing going forward. But all of this is not just for the money and not for the recycling, it's to create the social programs that we like to do. So we get to help about 84,000 people a year in Lane County with a variety of services and in California as well. So this is a way for us to create social justice as well as diversion and whatever else. Cascade Alliance, that's funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. If you're interested in participating as a nonprofit in waste-based business development, we're happy to work with you through the Cascade Alliance. And that program continues to go along. There's our partners around the United States. Diverted 17 million pounds of materials, created 102 jobs, and grossed $10 million in revenues around the United States as a result of the efforts of the Cascade Alliance. It's a very fast-growing thing. And I tried to finish in time. Good.
We definitely have some time for some questions then. Let's try to wait for the mics this time. Somebody right over here? Yep, up, all the way over.
Now I'm looking at Tom Padilla, that son of a gun.
You spotted it.
Finally spotted it. Yep.
Thanks. Is it still true, is it still accurate that an item of clothing typically will make 3 revolutions in a store before getting bailed? And how has the advent of fast fashion impacted the overall volume of clothing?
The first question is that yes, you typically, clothing will rotate through a thrift operation at least 3 times, and it has 2 price point drops as a result of, first price, second price, third price, discard going out to the as is, and if it's cotton content, then it'll be cut up as industrial wipers and turned into a whitening cloth. Otherwise, it will go to a secondary marketplace, generally in the third world somewhere. That's been traditionally what happened. The second question was, what is fast fashion?
Yeah, just cheap clothing, prolific.
Oh, prolific cheap clothing? Well, it's killing the international markets, and that's really the big deal on it. And it's forcing the first world to deal with the clothing that they typically threw away. So Romania used to be absolutely overrun with used clothing from England and Scotland and the Netherlands and Germany. And that industry is rapidly declining because the Chinese are shipping in this really cheap clothing. I'm glad to know it's fast fashion. So that's meaning that those countries are now having to figure out what to do with the clothing instead of exporting their problems. They're going to have to deal with it internally. And actually, that's a pretty good thing. I like it.
Others? Oh, right here.
Right where?
Right over here.
Hi. You have a lot of different materials that you are recycling, repurposing. So does your organization do primarily triaging kind of thing, or do you actually have facilities for processing these, or do you send them off to others for processing?
We try and internalize vertically almost everything. So polystyrene, we do process about 2 to 3 tons of polystyrene per month, and then we have our own densifier that does that. Same way with the upcycled clothing, the shoes, belts, purses, we're trying to seal the leather off that, turn it into other products. So as much as possible, we try and do that ourselves because we want to save the embodied value of that product and use the capital ourselves rather than exporting to somebody else. Now, when you get into scrap paper or scrap metals or so forth, that is going off to other markets. But window glass, for example, we crush and remelt and turn back into Aurora glass products. And so we're trying to move up the food chain a bit. Hello.
I was wondering what you do about the tax issue of, can you resell donated things that are donated to you, and is there any kind of tax consequence?
Depends on the state. California, if you're going to set up a retail operation, it's taxed. In Oregon, we don't have a sales tax, so we don't have a problem there. Most places around the United States does have a sales tax, and it's just part of doing business.
What I meant actually is material that's donated to you, are you allowed to sell it for how? Are there any regulations around that?
Well, if you give me something, I will tell you honestly, I'm probably either going to give it away or sell it. And about 90% of the time it's going to be sell it. And if you choose to give it to me, there's no problem with doing so.